Do not speak to me of your anamnesis, your recollections of past lives at Atlantis, your mindfulness and breath work to increase your productivity and your health, your life hacks, your shadow work and your self-satisfied ignorance of the spirit that innervates all things. Listen to a podcast, read a few books, and everyone becomes an initiate. So quickly does one's newfound knowledge then become a means to grasp at our own petty ambitions and motivations. This dark side of spirituality is that it becomes itself a barrier to encountering the real spirit behind these practices. This is an acknowledgement of the self-serving narcissistic aspect of the spiritual path or journey. Your life is not meant to be lived for you and you alone. For you are nothing. You are dust. You are ashes. And you are manure. But your frail body contains all the gods. You do not own your limbs, your clever thoughts, your precious emotions. You have leased this life, but in the end it must be returned. Your life exists in service of something far greater and more ancient than you. How convenient life must temporarily be when the dead are avoided, when reality is avoided. While we continue to gaze into our reflections in the smooth surface of a cold mirror, hell is a landscape where only images of you exist. Remain ignorant of the spirit as you collect new tarot cards, read books on occultism or spirituality, or even religious studies. Recite your sacred books of a sense of moral righteousness and point your finger accusingly at your enemies. With all these clever devices for falling back asleep, don't even presume that passively listening to podcasts or videos will help you. You won't find a teacher or guru online, for the time for that is at an end. We cannot accept undying submission to another human being, for better and for worse. I once heard a prominent purveyor of esoteric material on YouTube disagree with the assertion that before one can practice magic, one must learn how to breathe. If you choose to practice magic or prayer or meditate, you must absolutely learn to breathe in a particular way. This is without question. The self-proclaimed leaders and mouthpieces of tradition or occultism lack even the most fundamental gnosis. It is the blind leading the blind. What you seek may be referred to in a book, but will not be ultimately found in any book you read. The vast majority of speakers speak words of no fidelity, and therefore no power. Placate your ego while telling yourself it's ascending toward the heights of heaven, or dip your toe ever so gently into the murky depths of Tartarus and call it a confrontation with the shadow. The shadow is mired in shit. So show me your palms, your clean, manicured, beautiful hands, marked with the calluses of life. But where is the shit? Where is that noisome, putrid smell, the filthy evidence of all your hard work? Or did you wash it all away in your last cold shower or ice plunge? Epicarmus says, Aime necros de copros, ge dehe copros estin, ai dehe ge theos est, u necros alatheos. The dead is excrement, excrement is earth, but earth is a goddess, therefore the dead is a god. Ignore the work and watch as the flesh of your human envelope thickens, hardens, and crusts over in sclerosis, as your perception dulls, your neuroses and mental illnesses proliferate, as depression claws with its searching dark hands around your heart, pulling it desperately down to Hades. Wake up, it screams. Wake up. Snap out of your narcotic hypnosis. I want you to see clearly every one of your ancestors in a long line descending into the mists of the primordial beginning, and imagine them mounting your back, impossibly all at once, each on top of the other. Feel the weight on your body and your soul, and carry it around with you. Turn around and face the dead. There lies the hopes, fears, mistakes, pains, longings, and sorrows. Know that they cling to your soul as firmly as if you yourself had lived their lives firsthand, since you are the vast accumulator. They need your salvation, your release, your acknowledgments, your obeisance, your blood, your breath, your honey, and your milk. And perhaps through healing and redeeming them, you'll heal and redeem yourself. But first realize that you are still self-serving. The journey is long, it's hard, and not for the many. Familiarize yourself with Farid Uddin Attar's The Conference of the Birds. Watch as the birds drop away from the journey one by one, and see yourself as these birds, because they are all parts of your soul. Realize this, otherwise your nice thoughts and good intentions will enchain you even more tightly within your adamantine bonds. Books are certainly beautiful, the words are melodic, but release the spirit trapped within the tomb of those words, and at last you can sing, and you must sing. Sing to the planetary spheres, the celestial music of the heavens, and sing to the dark bowels of the earth. Remember, nothing is accomplished when it is done in a half-ass or lukewarm manner, for you will be spit out like sputum on the ground. Your wings will break, and you will be trapped within the metaphysics of mud. Come away from the sick world for a moment, the sclerotic soul of our age. Find a quiet spot and get on your knees. Or if you wish, prostrate yourself, for today you must speak with the dead. From this point on, you are performing an act of hikateia. You become a suppliant of the gods who oversee the dead, Persephone, Hades, Hecate, or Hermes Suchopompos. The hours of the evening and night are best suited to speak to the chthonic gods and to give them honor and charis, because all portions of the cosmos deserve our unwavering honor and respect. But do not fall into fanciful imaginings and misunderstandings, because the time to honor our ancestors and the dead is at midday. Midday, when the sun is blazing, radiating its rays outwards and touching all things, giving them life, energy, and visibility. All is illumined at the apex of life, and because the noonday was considered a time of liminality, it is precisely then that the dead are closest to our waking world. When both objects and creatures cast a short shadow, or even no shadow at all, that is when the sun is at its peak. The dead do not cast a shadow, because they lack any physicality or materiality. Contrary to one's presumptions about darkness and the dead, the shadow is not an attribute of the dead, since it is considered an extension of our own embodiedness in the material realm. This is a quality we share with so-called inanimate things that also inhabit our world. But the dangers of giving libation and honor to the dead at midday is that this is also the time of Pan and the nymphs. After frolicking in the woods chasing the nymphs and hamadryads, erotically evoked by Stéphane Mallarmé's poem L'après-midi d'enfant, there was an understanding that midday was a time of rest, of motionlessness and silence, a time when Pan was allowed to rest from his pursuits and was not to be disturbed. Since panic and pandemonium are products of the work of Pan, there's a great risk that moving about and disrupting his peace by giving libations to the dead will result in his fury and wrath. Many things emerge in the heat of the noontime sun. Visions, epiphanies, manifestations. It is a risk that is necessary to take, however, for nothing of value can be gained without a certain level of risk. A later text called Anthologia Palatina describes Hesiod's epiphany of the Muses on Mount Helicon as occurring at midday. Or if you will, think also of Nietzsche's Thus Spake Zarathustra, where humanity is in the great midday between beast and the Overman, that dangerous precipice where something can be brought off successfully or utterly fail, resulting in cataclysm. Zarathustra rests under a gnarled tree just before noon, at this moment on the verge of irreversible change and transformation. To speak to the dead is to accept a deep burden. To shoulder a weight even heavier than the one Jung had to carry. He spoke to his dead. But think of all the wars, famines, atrocities and horrors we have carried out and continue to carry out in our madness and greed and thirst for power, and barring all that, our insistence on ignorance, while we simultaneously accumulate wandering ghosts, idola, and biathanatoi. We are all complicit, each and every one of us. It is unfair, but the taint and miasma of such pollution needs to be washed away ritually, not ignored as if it's none of our concern. Everything involving the soul is of the utmost import. There is no releasing oneself from the descending gyre of human history. One must have humility and piety before the gods. You can only fall asleep for so long before you go mad with that realization. But perhaps, after all, madness is indeed the first step toward healing. Allow Pan's midday panic to do its work. For there is also a tradition of the nuptial Pan, who plays his pipes and leads the marriage procession of Persephone to her husband who resides in the realms of the dead. Follow the music of the syrinx, and with Pan, you may sing and dance toward the underworld, for we've ignored his cries for far, far too long. So fall to your knees alongside me, friend, and honor the dead.